Good morning, good evening, and good night to all. This is Reading in Solitude, and I'm your host of Reading in Solitude. Tonight we're going to be discussing characterization in regards especially to developing characters with special gifts such as superpowers, fantastic weaponry, or some ability that sets them above the rest. I came up with this idea after thinking about what makes characters of certain anime that I like so enjoyable in spite of their incredible power. We've certainly all seen those stories with powerful characters who seem to be undeserving of their strength, or just broken, to take a colloquial term from video gaming. I ultimately came to see three factors that I found made the strength of powerful characters seem earned, and I would like to share them with you. The first of which is the journey to attain said power. To explain myself, I'm going to analyze two of my favorite anime, Kill la Kill and Little Witch Academia. In both shows, the protagonists hold powers far superior to all others in the show. In Kill la Kill, the protagonist, Ryuko Matoi, is granted the powers of both her Kamui, or God Robe, and the Rending Scissors, which have the ability to destroy life fibers, an alien life form that enhances the power of their human hosts, which are woven into clothing. Though Ryuko is the most potentially powerful of anyone else in the show, it takes time for her to learn the basics of using her Kamui. Later on, after learning the basics, she is able to master the use of the Kamui, and then further still, she is able to better herself and master her own strength. Along the way, she has many failures, and in spite of her great potential, due to the fact that she is unable to properly use the Kamui at first, at its full potential especially, she is defeated easily by opponents who are in reality less powerful than her. Each time she loses, she learns more and improves until at last she can defeat everyone. Likewise, Atsuko Kagari from the anime Little Witch Academia is granted the power of Shiny Rod, a magical wand which has the ability to unlock what is the greatest magic on Earth. Throughout the show, Akko must learn the different spells to unlock the wand's full potential, and then finally is able to attain what is the greatest power on Earth. With that said, the magic from Shiny Rod cannot be used in any or all situations, only some when the wand deems it necessary. Furthermore, she faces many hardships along the way. For example, Akko is not a good witch in everyday practice. She cannot fly, she's bad at using magic in most situations, and she is proud and naive. As she grows in power, first she grows in character, until at last she is able to understand, respect, and better use the power which she holds. I'm not sure if I've brought this up before in any of my Writing in Solitude segments, but many, if not all, stories can be plotted along what is known as a plot chart. Something you have likely seen sometime in your elementary school days, high school days, or middle school days, certainly if you learned here in America. In essence, many stories have done that which has been done before, especially when looked at from a macro level. For example, take this idea. A villain or antagonist arises, a hero must step forward, that hero must grow, they do grow, they succeed, and in the end, all is well, or something to that effect. This is not by any means an original story, but what makes that story interesting is the challenges faced along the way and the growth that a character experiences on a micro level. This is why adversity is paramount when it comes to developing a character. The second factor is how many in the story have these powers. Is it limited to one person, two people, or maybe it is limited to none? For example, in Little Witch Academia, Akko is the only one to possess the power of Shiny Rod. Now there are others who have similar powers, but none with that power, and certainly none with as much power as Akko has at the end of the show. In Kill la Kill, only Ryuko and her original antagonist, Satsuki, have access to Kamui. Later on, a final antagonist has access to one too, but the power is limited to those three. As for the Rending Scissors, only her and another wield such blades. In a show like My Hero Academia, a show which I must admit I have not watched, though I do understand the basic premise of, everybody has a superpower, but each character has their own unique superpower. Now, The third and final factor ties in with the second, and so I will introduce it before we continue our analysis of said second factor. It is the idea of liberty and responsibility. The more liberty one has, the more responsibility one must take for their own well-being. To apply such an idea to literature, the more creative liberty one takes, the more responsibility that person holds in developing said topic or idea. The more powerful one makes a character, the more weaknesses or hardships one must lay upon that character to allow them to be dynamic, or at the very least, if they are a static character and are meant to be a static character, they must face forces which seek to corrupt them. For example, a superhero with no faults who stands on principles of justice and truth may be forced to contend with doing that which is just and truthful, and doing that which might feel better to them, especially if nobody can hold them back but themselves. An aspiring hero must contend with their physical abilities and mental deficiencies before they can reach the goals that they seek. Likewise, to bring this idea back to the second factor, if a character is the only one to have said power, or is one of many to have said power, then there is a greater amount of responsibility in developing those characters, explaining why those characters have said powers, why the power is limited to one, why the power is limited to none, and so on and so forth. Which leads ultimately to the idea of creative liberty. As a fanfiction writer, we often deal with characters who are already developed. It is thus unnecessary and oftentimes even unwelcome by readers of fanfiction to completely reintroduce and recharacterize that which has already been established. However, when one deviates from the typical nature of a character, or when one places them on a path which may deviate from that of the source material's plot, greater responsibility is placed upon the author of said fanfiction to explain that which they have created. If, as I stated, one is to put a character on a path which is different from that of the original plot, then you must explain why they have chosen to take this opposing route when they have been set up to take the previous route. Or, if you are to make a character do something which seems out of character for them, you must explain the change of heart, and you must explain why they are doing this now. In other words, you are essentially building with prefabricated modules. Even though that is the case, you must still do the work of rendering and connecting said modules into creating your own story. With all that being said, I hope you all have taken something from what I stated, and I hope that you all go on to play with these ideas in your head and come to your own understandings. If you have communities of writers that you are a part of, I implore you to take these ideas and throw them out there as topics of discussion so that you all can better understand characterization and find areas of potential improvement in your own stories. And with that being said, I bid you all a good night.